we're going to look at example 2. My numbers for example 2 are 85 hundredths, 3/5, 15 hundredths, and 7/10. Okay? So we're going to follow the same steps. They never change. I'm going to write them in the same form. So I don't have any percents. So let's try something different. Again, do I want to write these in fraction form? I have a 5 and I have a 10 as a denominator. I could multiply that times 2 to get 10. I could do that. However, when I write 85, that's 85 hundredths. So I don't know if I want to do that. Let's think about changing it into decimal form. Okay? So if I change them into decimal form, 85 hundredths is good to go. But what about this 3/5? Well, 3/5 is 3 divided by 5. And remember, I want a decimal. So 3 divided by 5 is 0. Add a decimal is 0. 30 divided by 5 is 6. Voila. I have 6/10. I'm good to go. 7/10, when I read it, I know that is just place value, and it is 0.07. So now I have 4 decimals to order. And I'm going to put them in ascending order, which means least to greatest, because I'm increasing the amount. Okay? So, do I have any negatives or positives? No. So I don't need to make a T-chart. However, I have always taught my students that when we are comparing decimals, if you line them up, it is so much easier. So let's look over here, and I'm going to use 7/10 to line them up. I have 7/10. I'm going to write 85 hundredths, 6/10, and 15 hundredths. Now, when some students look at this, they're going to say, Miss Atkinson, 15 hundredths is greater than 6/10 because it has 2 numbers. However, that is not true. We can add place value zeros to make them have 2 digits. It does not change the value. That's still 7/10 because 7/10 is equivalent to 70 hundredths. I'm going to add a place value 0 here, placeholder. And this is 6/10, which is equivalent to 60 hundredths. They're just placeholders. Now when I look at it, and I think in terms of money, can you tell me which one is the least amount? Hopefully you said 15 cents. Actually, it's 15 hundredths when you read it. So 15 hundredths is less than anything else we have listed. So again, I'm going to use my number line, and I'm going to put them in order. So I have 15 hundredths. The second amount would be 6/10, 7/10, and then 85 hundredths. And I want to write them in their original form, so I'm going to go back to 6/10 is 3/5, and 7/10 is 7/10. Did I forget something? Hopefully you said the inequality symbols, Miss Atkinson. Remember, this is least to greatest, so I know 15 hundredths is less than 3/5. 3/5 is less than 7/10, and 7/10 is less than 85 hundredths. Okay? And if you have trouble with these inequality signs, one of the things that I like to do is that when you do a less than sign, you can actually write less in. L-E-S-S. A greater than sign, you can make a C, and it kind of looks like a G for greater than. So that's just something, a side note, if you're having trouble with the inequality signs. All right. Go ahead and pause the video if you need to. Copy this down in your notes, and we're going to get started on 3, the example 3. Okay, so the next example is 1/2, 1 4/10, 1 1/4, which is a negative, -2, and 1 95 hundredths. Okay, go ahead and write those down in your journal. And remember, we're going to use the same steps. So again, I don't think I want to turn them into fractions because I have that 1/4. So I don't want to turn them into percents. I could, but let's go ahead and stay with decimals, okay? Let's practice changing them into decimals. 1/2 is a decimal, a benchmark fraction. I have 1 1/4. I have negative 1/4. That's -1 25 hundredths because that's a benchmark fraction. I have -2, and then I have 1 95 hundredths. All right, so now we have some negatives, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to use our T-chart, and we're going to separate them. Negatives, positives. What I do is I always look for the negatives, and I circle them, and then I write them over here. This is -1.25. And remember, we line up decimals, so this is -2. Where is the decimal? Hopefully you said the decimal is behind the 2 because that, think of it as $2. If you put it in front of the 2, then it becomes 2 dimes or 20 pennies. Okay? So this would be -2, and I'm going to add my zeros. Doesn't change the value, it's still 2. On the positive side, I have 5/10, I have 1 4/10, and I have 1 95 hundredths. Up. Are you telling me I forgot to do something? I need to go back and add my zeros. That's right. I want to put those zeros as placeholders because it's easier to compare when I have the same amount of digits behind the decimal. So now I'm ready to put them on a number line and order them. So draw my draw my number line, put a 0. And I'm going to start with the positives first. So which one is closer to 0? Which one is less than? This is 5/10, 1 4/10, 1 95 hundredths. So it is increasing because this is 50 cents, this is $1.40, and this is $1.95. If you think of it in terms of money, it's really easy to think about the order. Over here on the left side, I have negatives. So remember, think of it as which one is closer to 0. So if this is -1 and this is -2, I know that -1 and 25 hundredths is somewhere in here. It's on the left of -1 because it's a little bit more. Okay? -2 is right here. So now they're in order and I can write them to answer my question. I'm going to put them in ascending order, and again, ascending order means least to greatest, the least amount to the greatest amount. So when I write these, I'm going to write them in their original form. I have -2. 1 25 hundredths was -1 1/4. I have 1/2, 1 4/10, and 1 95 hundredths. These are my decimals. Make sure that you can see them. Oh! Did somebody say something? Did I miss? I did. I forgot to put my inequality signs. Because I'm going least to greatest, -2 is less than -1 1/4. -1 1/4 is less than 1/2. 1/2 is less than 1 4/10, and 1 4/10 is less than 1 95 hundredths. All right, boys and girls, this is example 2. So you have one more to try, and this one you're going to try by yourself, and then we will go over the answers. Okay? So I'll write down your numbers just in case you need them. right, so your numbers are negative 1 and 8/10, 1, 1 and 2/5, 1 and 9/10, and negative 1 and 25/100. All right, pause the video, and I want you to set this up. I want you to follow the steps, change them to the same form, separate negatives from positives, and then order them on a number line. And we are going to put them in order in ascending order. Ascending order means least to greatest. Pause the video and then start back up in just a minute, okay, to check your work.